Hello everyone, back to today's second video. You're going to have a look at where next week's 10 days. In today's second video, this will take us through the first week and the second week of September. We'll have a look at page climate change next 40 days. That takes us to the start of October, can you believe? We'll begin by having a look at what's happening in the Atlantic in terms of tropical storm activity. But just to say, earlier on today, we released a 5-day forecast. You can find my videos out here on the homepage. Just scroll down page a little bit and it's botanic out. There's also a written version. You can get that from buttons at the top of the page. So starting with the latest from the National Hurricane Center, which is within the envelope of NOAA, the official forecast agency in the United States, NOAA. So we'll begin by looking at Harvey. So this is the latest position of now tropical storm Harvey. It's on the move. It's been sitting in the southeastern part of Texas around the Gulf of Mexico since the weekend. It is now starting to drift a little bit further northeastward. So it's just beginning to head in towards Louisiana as we speak. It'll carry on pushing northwards and eastwards, so that by Saturday it'll be somewhere up here into the central part of the eastern portion of the United States. Then we've also got this area just here. It's not a storm yet, it's just a disturbance. It is heading off the African coast, beginning to move in towards the central part of the tropical Atlantic. You have to keep an eye on that, see whether as it picks up moisture in the tropical waters of the Atlantic, whether that develops into some sort of storm. And then also over here, which is the Pacific side of the tropics, we've got this is let's look how they're pronouncing it. So this is potential tropical cyclone 14. So it isn't yet a storm, but it potentially could become a storm. It's off the western coast of Mexico, and it's in the Pacific Ocean. Gotta wait and see what's going to happen with a potential storm 14. This is how they're forecasting Harvey to develop. So as I say, it is on the move now. By tomorrow, by 1 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, it'll be firmly into Louisiana. Then it carries on pushing northwards. By Friday, it'll be up towards Tennessee, and then by Saturday, it's here up towards Kentucky. So it is beginning to push northwards, and as it does so, it'll take lots of heavy rain, of course, into these central parts of the United States. But things will start to finally start to dry up down in that southeastern part of Texas. So things will begin to improve in places like Houston. But of course, there will be a lot of rain associated with this in other states as it pushes northwards and eastwards over the next 2 or 3 days. So, just came back closer to home. We're going to have a look at the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles the next couple of weeks. These are the upper air temperatures. We've got the red line here, which is the 30-year temperature average. We're looking at Manchester today, by the way. So, we start off a little bit cooler than average over the next 2 or 3 days. It's going to be some very chilly nights, so it won't necessarily be all that cold by day, although temperatures are very depressed down in the southeast today where it's pouring with rain. But other than that, temperatures by day over the next 2 or 3 days aren't going to be all that cold by day, but by night they will be very chilly indeed. I won't be ruling out chance some ground frost in some rural and sheltered northern parts of the country. Into weekend and the start of next week, we find temperatures beginning to lift up a little bit then. And it looks like we're staying generally a little bit on the warmer side of average as we run through the first week of September into the second week of September. That's that period just there, generally looking at least a bit warmer than average, maybe even a few very warm ensemble members appearing. So could we be in for yet another very warm September? We'll have to wait and see on that. We'll see what Beige Climate Centre is saying actually in a few minutes. Down to precipitation, so there will be some showery bursts of rain coming up with this cooler stuff over the next 2 or 3 days. Then Sunday, it looks like it turns quite wet out in the west, and then after that a little bit showery, but overall not too bad in terms of precipitation. Remember, this is for Manchester, so it's for one of the wetter parts of the country really, and overall not looking too bad. I think overall we're coming out a little bit on the drier side. Let's have a look at the surface temperatures and air pressure again from Manchester. So It's where we're starting off at right now, really quite cool, with the temperatures both by day and by night, staying generally cool really as we run into the first days of September, but gradually we've got a bit of a warming trend appearing here, and into the second week of September, this period just here, we're generally staying around 20 degrees, which is a little bit above average, a little bit warmer than average for early September. Up in Manchester, so a relatively, after a cool start anyway, a relatively warm early September period showing up. In terms of air pressure, so we're starting off with quite low pressure at the moment. We're going to lift pressure up over the next 2 or 3 days, I mean dropping into the weekend start of next week. Beyond that, there's quite a split appearing in this part of the ensemble. So we have got several ensemble members that are bringing in proper low pressure, but we also have several members that are delivering quite high pressure through this second week of September. So it looks like the second week of September is a little bit up for grabs. Overall, I suspect the ensemble is more towards higher pressure here for the second week of September compared to lower pressure. So I think pressure will be staying quite high with the first couple of weeks of September generally, and there should be quite a bit of dry weather around, albeit it won't be complete dry, but there should be quite a bit of dry weather around through these first couple of weeks of September. Temperature anomalies are coming out like this, very close to average, maybe ever so slightly on the warmer than average side, but not a big deviation from the 30th of August to the 7th of September. For precipitation, we find that the anomalies are generally drier than average. It looks like it'll be quite a dry week coming up from the 30th of August through to the 7th of September. This is how the GFS is looking then for sunny. This all dealt with in the 5D forecast, of course, but we're bringing wet and windy weather into the north and west on Sunday. The east should just about manage to stay dry. By Monday into Tuesday, high pressure is taking over again, so that brings us back to mostly dry and settled conditions. Brings some quite warm air up from the south as well through the early part of next week. Could see temperatures up into the mid-20s Celsius. Then through Wednesday into Thursday, pressure's trying to weaken out to the west, but still keeping this ridge really to our east. This does look a little bit thundery, especially so for the north and west, but for the east probably still quite dry and fairly warm. We go up towards day 10, and that low pressure eventually just slinks away to our south, and we reinforce high pressure again. So that takes us to Saturday, the 9th of September. We're still under high pressure, so a lot of dry and really quite warm weather coming up there through the first 10 days of September. A little bit of rain around time, more particularly in the northwest, but overall, have to say that would be bringing quite a lot of dry and warm weather through that opening week and even into the second week of September. So not all that autumnal anyway. Have a look at the east US, so very similar for Sunday, bringing some proper cloud and rain into the west. That tries to push eastwards, but really dies a death on Monday. By Tuesday, we're under an area of high pressure, which should be giving us mostly dry, quite warm conditions too. That's how things are looking Wednesday to Thursday. This low pressure that tries to get going out to the west eventually just slinks down towards the Bay of Biscay, and it leaves us under this ridge generally. So again, a lot of dry weather through to the last stages of next week, still keeping that ridge going. So you would expect quite a lot of dry and fine conditions coming up next week. And yeah, I think we could be seeing temperatures at least into the low 20s, if not the mid 20s Celsius. So really quite warm summer hanging on into next week. By day 10, very long way out, the ECMWF does show bit of a breakdown taking place, quite a deep area of low pressure. Looks like it's heading in from off the Atlantic on Saturday, 9th of September. That's a very, very long way off. So let's say most of next week anyway is looking fairly dry and quite warm as well at this stage. Finally, just have a look at Beijing Climate Centre for the next 40 days. So these are 500 millibar heights. I broke it down into 10-day periods. The first 10-day period taking us from the 1st through to 10th of September. We have above average heights, very close to country, a little bit centred out to the west, but generally a lot of dry and settled weather coming through there on the warmer side of the jet stream as well. So really quite pleasant with that one. We go through to a second 10-day period. This is the 11th through to the 20th of September. Again, a lot of above average heights sitting around the UK. So there's low pressure in the Atlantic. We'll be doing something bit like that, jet stream. So again, you would expect a lot of dry weather to be coming through with that, and quite warm into the middle part of September. The next 10-day period shows quite a significant change. This takes us to the final 10 days of September, the 21st through to the 30th, and then we've got below average heights coming back in over top of the country as the ridge is pulling out into the Atlantic. We're bringing the jet stream southwards as well, so clearly that's turning more unsettled and quite a lot cooler as well. Autumn sets in the final 10 days of September, and then we go through the first 10 days of October. This taking us from the 1st to 10th of October, which is days 31 to 40. Very, very long way out, but it's placing a ridge through the middle of the Atlantic, and then a trough is over the country and to our east. We're on the cool side of the jet stream still, so the opening 10 days of October also looking quite unsettled and quite cool with that setup. So it's seeing a bit of a two-way split really. The first 20 days, which takes us at least into the middle part of September, lots of dry and quite warm weather, and then the second 20 days, which takes us through the final stages of September and into the first sort of 10 days of October, they're looking a lot cooler and a lot more unsettled. Autumn starts sometime then around the middle of September to the second half of the month. That's all very speculative. Coming back to the next week's 10 days, it looks like we're in for quite a lot of dry and warm weather through the early part of September. There will be some showery bursts around at times, but overall summer probably continuing into the early part of September anyway. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.